Back in the day, chances were good that the neighborhood movie theater had a double feature. Theater owners knew that having two movies meant a bigger audience for the evening or the weekend. The second flick was usually the low-budget one and less publicized. These science-based films might have been repetitive or goofy, but they were always memorable, and some became cult classics. So let's take a look at 5 of my sci-fi B-movie favorites from the 1950s. Number 5, The Monolith Monsters. Directed by John Sherwood and starred Grant Williams, Lola Albright, Trevor Bardet, and Les Tremayne. In the California desert, an unseen meteorite crashes into the earth. When the curious find pieces of this rock and bring them to the city, some individuals become petrified because they've touched the rocks.
Perhaps a part of the process is the absorption of silica, taking it right out of whatever it comes into contact with, be it desert or wood or...
human beings?
In addition, when these rocks come in contact with water, huge monoliths rise, fall, break off, and those pieces again begin to grow. During a rainstorm, the original meteorite grows and spreads out of its crater and moves toward the nearby town. When I was young, I thought the growing rocks were boring. Where's the monster? I thought. When I watched the film when I was older, I thought seriously about what would happen if they just kept growing and covering the earth, and we couldn't stop it. Suddenly, the simplicity of this plot turned serious and complex. In addition to good acting and directing, The Monolith Monsters is an underrated gem and is one of the better B-movies. Number 4, The Beginning of the End. Directed by Burt I. Gordon and starring Peter Graves, Peggy Castle, Van Wen, Morris Ancrum, and Thomas Brown Henry. Journalist Audrey Ames meets bug expert Dr. Ed Wainwright, whose irradiated soil experiments help vegetables to thrive. Unfortunately, some force of nature has been rampaging the countryside, and 150 people are now missing. The citizens soon discovered that gigantic mutant locusts were the cause. The monsters are in search of food, and they also eat people. The military can't stop the grasshoppers, and eventually they march toward Chicago with the threat of overrunning everything in their path. They plan to eat, multiply, and take over the world. The determined female lead helped the film, and the overall acting was decent, but the grasshopper effects were poor. Even as a child, I could see that these things weren't real, but that was just me. Number 3, The Monster That Challenged the World. Directed by Arnold Lavin and starred Tim Holt, Audrey Dalton, Hans Conriy, Max Showalter, and Mimi Gibson. An earthquake and possible radiation exposure awaken a nest of prehistoric monsters lurking at the bottom of the sea. These bloodthirsty sea snails are gobbling up anyone who sets foot in the water. This scene seems familiar, but even the worst of times, love must blossom.
Oh, hello.
But back underwater, it's obvious before the creature captured those sad individuals, they had to swim up or snuggle up to it. The thing couldn't move with any speed or agility to hunt its prey. I tried my best not to look at how stiff and fake the actual monster looked. And when scientists moved one of the creature's eggs to a lab, it launched a reign of terror that threatened to spread across the entire country, or at least to the building. How will we ever defeat these slow-moving creatures? Number 2, The Giant Claw. Directed by Fred F. Sears and starred Jeff Morrow, Mara Corday, and Morris Akram. Engineer and pilot Mitch McAfee spots a UFO while studying the North Pole. Soon, many airplanes were reporting attacks, which turns out to be a giant bird from outer space. But even in the worst of times, love must blossom. But back at the lab, Mitch, mathematician Sally Caldwell, and the film producers try to determine a way to deal with the bird. They discover that if you can't afford to make the bird realistic, why not go for the outlandish? That's why it came across as a ridiculous cartoon buzzard. The biggest issue was putting a science-based spin on this stadium-sized bird. Listen to the mumbo-jumbo used to explain the existence of the creature and stop it and its antimatter energy screen.
New mesons are 210 times heavier than electrons, which means that in a basic atom, the electrons revolve around the nucleus at just a small fraction of the ordinary distance in the normal atom, and bombard that bird's antimatter energy shield with a stream of basic atoms. I think we can destroy that shield.
Regardless of how confusing this all seems, remember to duck. Number 1, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Directed by Edward D. Woods Jr. and starring Criswell as the narrator, Tor Johnson, Dudley Manlove, Mayila Normie, Gregory Walcott, Joanna Lee, and Bela Lugosi. The movie in a nutshell. A woman and soon afterwards her husband dies, and the space aliens resurrect them so they can conquer the Earth. The undead couple mortally wounds a police officer, and the aliens revive him for the same purpose. All three spend much of the movie walking around a graveyard and a nearby home trying to scare others. The nylon swashbuckler costume aliens are using Plan 9, which is raising the dead, to stop humanity from developing a powerful bomb called Solobonite, which might ignite and destroy the universe. The local police beat the powerful aliens, the walking dead turn to bones, and the world is safe.
You lose.
I'm giving a special mention to Bela Lugosi, who dressed up in his Dracula the Vampire garb for the movie, but a stand-in played him most of the time. Some say this movie is so bad it must be good because it intentionally makes fun of itself. You must admire Ed Wood's conviction and courage to make this mess.
Subscribe.
Thanks for the watch. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and take a peek at my many other endless perceptions.